I start off with sand again. It worked well for the whale and manatees, so I decided to do it with these eagles. It's just mason sand you can get from Lowe's. Be sure to compact it in a form. I just use those concrete blocks to make a form. And when I get what I want, I draw out my pattern, either freehand or off a previously sketched pattern that I drew up. Get everything shaped just right. Spray it with some glue. Double up with some paint. Never hurts. And you do have to wax it, and then you can put fiberglass on like I'm doing now. Fiberglass pops off real easy. Scrape a little bit of sand off and you have your form. And then you can reuse the sand for the next piece, which I made the body panels. And there's the perched eagle. Put some fiberglass on it. Just be sure to wax it, glue it and wax it first. Use that same paper pattern, draw out your shape on the fiberglass. Be sure to make your fiberglass a little bigger than you need so you can cut some off. Trim it out. I didn't build the fiberglass super thick, so I can just trim it with some metal scissors, tin snips. And you can always go back and add more fiberglass. And here we go. I didn't quite like the shape, so I made a little adjustment and continue to trim it out. Double check they both are symmetrical with each other and trim the other one out. A few little adjustments to make with the Sharpie. I like to sand the edges to a knife edge. I'm adding some steel with some epoxy clay for strength, and when the clay sets up, I really add a lot of fiberglass right here to bond the steel in well. Now this is really important. It's a little peg that I'm making, and it's a little triangular shaped peg because these wings need to be removable. I waxed them up, and then now on top of that peg I'm putting some fiberglass, and that makes essentially like a cup that will pop off of the peg. And that'll let those two pieces mate up when I want to remove them. So here I position the wings as I want the pose to be, and those two cups are touching, and then I add a bunch of fiberglass. So this is a block of wood that I'm going to bulk up for the body, and it allows me to add it's called a floor flange for black pipe plumbing. Helps you mount it to a base really easy. You need to always have your sculpture well mounted as you work on it. You don't want it falling over or anything. So get that block of wood set on. Use a lot of fiberglass again to really lock it on. Reinforce that. And now just building a base. And I put another floor flange. Put a pipe in between and set the sculpture. Now we are making some final little adjustments on the pose. I use string. I pull a string up to the ceiling, pull a string down to the base, and tension it and twist the shape to get the final position I like. When I like it, I put some more fiberglass on and it's locked in. There I'm putting a block of wood inside the body of the perched eagle, and add a floor flange to that block of wood and a floor flange to a base with a pipe in between. Super easy base. Make a final adjustment on pose, fiberglass it, and it's It's locked in. Now I'm setting a body panel for the flying bird, setting the tail, making some adjustments with string, and reinforcing it with fiberglass again. I use epoxy resin with my fiberglass. Okay, we got to make some feet. Just some twisted wire with wax over top of it. And refine it, make sure they look cool. And they've got to be anatomically correct, of course. There's some nice talons. Now we got to make some claws for them. So I just put some plastic over my sketch, put a wire on that plastic, and add some wax and get it built up, and the wax pops off the plastic. Super easy. And you just refine it, make them a little longer than you need, because you can always trim them at the root or file them off at the tip. I leave the wire sticking out of the tip too. That helps with molding and casting. Same thing with the beak. Sketch it out, plastic, wire, wax, build it up, and refine it. Everything looks good, you can make your molds. You pour silicone in those mold forms you built up. I already did my casting now. I made the mold, and that's the casting. It's plastic now. I colored it yellow. I'm attaching the claws to the talons. I filled up the body cavities with scrap foam and foam in a can. A little bit of trimming, a little fiberglass on the belly. Just make the legs out of solid foam, and I'm ready to cover it with clay. Get a 1/4 inch of clay over the whole surface. Should be already shaped in. You spent all that time with the original form, so now it's just refinements and details. Which does take a long time, because you've got to make every major feather group, quills, follicles. It's got to look naturalistic. It's got to look artistic. It's got to be accurate. Design a good pose. But this really isn't the longest phase of the process. It does take a while, but shaping it in and getting those fiberglass forms correct and building a good armature, you have to do that. You can change this clay. If you mess up on putting the clay on or doing something, you can change it. But if you didn't get your original fiberglass form right, then you've got a lot of problems. So fit that on there and squirt some foam to lock it. Now here I'm attaching some pedestals so that I can remove the wing and it will sit on a table. Remember, I made those pegs and sockets in the wing, so it's removable. And here's a close look of the socket. And now we can start our molding process. I have to build a platform all the way around the changing shape of the wing, and it's just about a 1/2 inch short of where I need the final line of division to be. And I will finish that up with this putty here. This is a paper pulp paste. Finish that seam line out super nice and throw some marbles in for keys. Jackie, we're done. We did it. Ready for mold making. She approves. All right, add silicone. Usually do 3 layers. put some mold release on after the silicone sets, and then you can add your fiberglass. We're just doing the top side. We got to flip it over. Now we got to repeat the process on the bottom side. Every piece is at least 2 pieces, if not more. So remove that framework, all that platform. Now you got to clean off all that paper pulp. Clean it off real good. Save it, you can reuse it. Get it cleaned up, and you wax, Vaseline the silicone. And then you can put the other layer of silicone on, and that Vaseline will act as a separator. The silicone won't stick to the other piece of silicone. And I use wax on fiberglass to separate fiberglass. I'm adding resin and fiberglass cloth. We call this the jacket, the fiberglass jacket, and since I waxed it, it will not stick to itself. Okay, this is the perched bird. We got to pull all the pieces off. I made them so that they're removable. Using that paper pulp again, or laying it up. All these pieces, they were made removable. Got a little pin there, comes out, and those are the 4 legs for 2 birds. Do them in one mold. I had to make another set of talons because the male is smaller, so the talons for the female are too big. Drill before you open it, and those drill holes are your keyholes for the jacket. Okay, so now this is the open cavity of the mold, and I have to make fiberglass that goes in the mold. This is going to be the fiberglass for the final casting. I think I did 2 layers on each side, so that would be 4 layers in the wing. Just using standard surfboard glass. This is spray mold release. Don't be afraid to use that. It's your friend. And this is the resin. Color it close to the color of the final project. Do that with an oil paint or pigment. Get all these pieces put in. After it sets up, I put another layer in now, and while that second layer that's still wet, I add my glass. This is the fiberglass cloth. Add it in, wet it out, close the mold, and now we're done, sort of. I mean, now we're ready to put stuff together, clean it up, and paint it. If we had the bodies, but we didn't even mold the bodies yet. So now we got to mold the bodies. Same process as the wings and legs. But since we have castings of the wings and legs in pieces, you can put those finished castings up to the clay, like the sockets for the legs and the wings, and you can make sure they made up just absolutely perfectly. You know, same process, silicone and fiberglass jacket, except the flying bird is a little bit different process. Okay, here I'm cleaning it up, I'm cleaning the paper pulp off here, and then here I remove the pipe and repair the belly before I mold it. Here I am attaching that casting of that leg and just really making sure that clay mates up to the leg casting just perfectly to it. So now when I mold the body, the underside of this body, it will come out and the 2 pieces will just mate up really well, and good opportunity to do some refinement on the sculpture too. Three layers, The Flying Bird has just one piece of rubber on the bottom, but the jacket has to be further divided. So I used a wall of clay and did fiberglass just on one side of that wall. Let it set up for the next day, and after the next day you can remove that clay and then fiberglass the other side. So the jacket on the belly is two pieces, but the rubber is only one piece. Drill all your holes, trim it off, open it up, throw the clay away. Well, I mean, you reuse it for other sculptures. Power washer works good to clean the rubber, a little residue, all the residue off. And now we're casting the bodies. Same process as the wings. Put your beauty coat in. Put your fiberglass cloth in. And close the mold. Here we're putting all the bolts in where we drilled it. We drill it before you cut, trim it out, and remove the final casting out of the mold. It is. Turned out pretty nice. Paper thin seam. Very lightweight. I have all my pieces. So now I sit here for many hours and Dremel the seams off, clean them up. Any other little imperfections you can go over the body with the Dremel and kind of scratch in actual more detail. Here I'm assembling the feet and putting a rod through the foot that will mount it in the final place in the museum. I paint my own eyes. They're glass, painted on the back side. After that dries, I spray it with crystal clear on the back side and then set them in with the epoxy clay. Sculpt around the eyelids. Keep assembling pieces. Put the feet to the legs, put the legs to the body, put the wings on the shoulders. Put a little bit of epoxy clay in, the seam work. All those removable pieces. Oh, the tongue. Got to put a cool tongue in the bird. Open mouth. Am I painting already? Okay. Blocking in the basic patterns. The highest contrast, the light and dark areas. Starting to add in the color tones. Lots of layers. I paint a little bit, let it dry, paint a little more, let it dry. A lot of washes and dry brushes. A lot of sitting and fussing with it. Took me several days just to paint them. Here we're done. Alright, I set up, do a photo shoot. Turned out really nice. This one will be sitting on a nest, and the other one is flying in. It goes to the Draper Museum of Natural History in Cody, Wyoming. I have to deliver them to Missouri. So, loaded it up in my Mountaineer and I'm about to hit the road. driving through Illinois, delivering the Eagles to Missouri. My co-pilot here. Good girl, Jack. Pretty cold out. 11 right now. This is why I live in Florida. Be done with misery. Finished I was not. The client requested that I make a set of eaglets, so I hatched these two out ASAP. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider leaving a like, a comment. If you have a project that I could help you with, feel free to get in touch with me. I'm always looking for new commissions.